Let's go ahead and start. Are you comfortable, Commissioner, starting up? Okay, welcome back, everybody. We're coming back from our executive session regarding real estate and a closed session regarding labor discussions. We're meeting with the Sheriff's Office and Keith Hanson. I can't speak today, but that's all right. Kevin Hanson, Chief Hanson. Would you mind go ahead and kicking it off, sir?
Sure. Good morning, Commissioners. I have two things on the agenda today. One is a contract renewal for the Lewis County Prisoner Housing contract. And I think that is a year old, and this is a renewal for another year. And it looks like Sheriff Snaza increased the rate from $94 a day to $103. We have not housed any inmates there, and we don't really anticipate housing any inmates there, but this contract is sitting there just in case we ever have to use it.
I'm supportive, Commissioner Schutte.
I am as well.
Mr. Trask?
As am I.
Okay, thank you. And the next one is an update on the outsourcing and our staffing at the jail. In the briefing, I mentioned that we had hired a brand new corrections deputy, which started November 1st. He is at entry level. We have one corrections deputy at the academy, which is going to graduate in December. We have one control room operator on extended leave and one corrections deputy on temporary modified duty working half shifts. We have two corrections deputies and one CSO control room operator of background. And we have two vacant community service officer positions and three open corrections deputy positions still. So the plan is we are right on the verge of having enough people to minimally bring all those people back from Nisqually. But we just got to get them through the training and get them back to where we can actually use them. So, but we are working on a plan to stop the outsourcing or to start decreasing the outsourcing. And we're hoping that by the first of the year that we'll pretty much have, people back. Get us through the holiday seasons anyhow.
Questions, Commissioner Trask?
Now, the CSO positions, don't we have them in the budget to convert them?
Yes, two of them you do, correct.
And so
Commissioners, that is not in the budget to convert them. We just talked about it.
Oh,
I thought it was.
I thought it was as well. I thought you had an agreement from all three commissioners to do that.
I don't think that I did update that. I can update
Yeah,
that.
please update that because Commissioner Schutte, do you remember it the same way?
Yeah, I thought we were all supportive as long as the sheriff's office was.
Yep.
yeah.
Okay, I'll make that correction.
Thank you.
Good catch, Commissioner.
And so that'll get you a lot closer to more bodies on the floor, right?
Correct. Yep.
Every time I say that term, I always cringe.
We do have, you remember I briefed last time, I think I said we had 4 people in background with Thurston County as laterals. We're down to 1, and it looks like that 1 is actually going to successfully have employment there. So that's a lot better than having 4 for sure.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. The sooner that we're not using the restrictions and that we're fully staffed, I'll feel a lot more comfortable. Because I would love to not use Nisqually.
Correct. And we want to bring people back too, because it is kind of a logistical, it's hard to manage it logistically with the courts and releases and bookings, and it's a lot of work actually. It's easier to have them here for sure.
Commissioner Schutte, do you have any questions for the chief?
Not at this time. Thank you.
Okay, Chief, you got anything else for us?
No, thank you, and have a great week.
All right, have a great one.
Yep, thank you.
All right, next up, I have Indigent Defense, Peter Jones. Good morning, Peter.
Good morning. This is just a renewal of the LexisNexis contract to continue to provide legal research services for our attorneys.
I am supportive. Commissioner Trask? You're muted. Give me a thumbs up or,
Good.
okay. Commissioner Schutte,
All good with me.
all right. Do you have anything from Peter? Okay. All right, thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Next up, I have Community Development, Kell Rowen. Good morning, Kell.
Morning. I got a couple things and then followed by Marissa. I would like to put on the action agenda for the December 3rd meeting to reappoint Bob Wilkerson to our Planning Advisory Commission. And then I'd also like to read a news release for an opening, an at-large position opening on the Planning Advisory Commission as Terry Arcieri has recently stepped down.
Commissioner Schutte, are you okay with, we'll start with that first, with reappointment, or would you rather have any further discussions of opening it up?
I am good with reappointment.
Commissioner Trask, same question.
Yep, as am I.
Okay, there you go on that one. And the other allowing for the discussion at our meeting and the announcement. Comfortable?
Yes.
As am I. Okay. Next.
Hi, good morning, commissioners.
Good morning.
So I mentioned in a previous briefing that I'd be bringing the countywide planning policies before you. So before we brought the countywide planning policies to the Planning Advisory Commission, we had meetings with department staff as well as fire districts, state agencies, tribes, the city of Shelton, and some other interested stakeholders. We had the EDC there as well. So we had them review the draft countywide planning policies to get their input before we then took it to the PAC for the first time on August 19th. So that the PAC were introduced to it on August 19th. They looked at it again on October 7th. We had several public comments on it. The PAC wasn't able to get through all those comments on October 7th, so we gave them a little bit more time. And they did a very, very good job on November 6th of getting through those comments and going line by line and making decisions at that meeting. And the draft you have before you was the result. If you notice, there are several things that are deleted out of that draft, but it's those things that are deleted are background information that will actually be put into a different chapter, the introduction chapter of the comp plan. So, and then the other thing is that our consultant suggested was the countywide planning policies were currently a chapter of the comp plan, but a lot of jurisdictions actually have their countywide planning policies as a separate document. So that can be adopted before you move on to the rest of your plan. So a lot of jurisdictions do it that way. So she suggested doing that this way. And staff were also are recommending it as well. So this draft's before you, and we are hoping to set a hearing for January 7th to get the countywide planning policies adopted. And I will say, once the PAC went through all those revisions during that meeting, they did a really good job. They all voted to recommend approval to you all. So
when are you asking for the hearing?
So the hearing would be on January 7th.
Commissioners, my recommendation would be to extend that out a little while. The reason why is you're going to have a new commissioner that is only going to be on literally for a few days at that point for that decision point, and he should be given at least a few good weeks to go over the process, and maybe even at least a hearing with us, or not a hearing, a briefing with staff and all before being asked to make that decision.
Well, and on my calendar, I show that we don't have a meeting on the 7th. Our next meeting would be on the 14th. Is my calendar off?
I think that's probably because of, is that holiday related?
No, I think that's because I put him for every other Tuesday.
Well, I have to check again. I thought Mackenzie sent out an email that said the 7th was.
Here comes Diane. She's going to tell us that we haven't,
Yeah,
we
I
haven't
think,
set our meeting dates yet.
I think it's
Yeah,
because
I
we're not
think-
gonna meet on December 31st.
Say again, Commissioner Shuday.
But I think that, I think the next meeting would be the 7th, since we're not meeting on December, like, we're not gonna meet on Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve.
Right, I think the intent was we would start out the new year with a briefing and meeting on that 6th and 7th. And then we'll do the every other Tuesday from there.
Okay, so again, I know if I was the new commissioner and I was making a decision on the comprehensive plan like this, I would sure love to have the ability to look at it and ask staff questions before making a determination, instead of just coming in and, is there a reason, is there any type of hurry that we have to consider, or stretch it out for a little bit for the new commissioner? Is that a problem? You're breaking up. I didn't hear what you said. I'm sorry.
We are continuing with our other elements. We are kind of a little bit behind, but we are still continuing with our PAC meetings and reviewing the other elements. Kell, I think probably extending it out, maybe another week or two. I think whenever the next session is, maybe okay.
Kell?
Yeah, so that would be the 21st, Tuesday, the 21st. And maybe we can brief with the new commissioner just to get them up to speed on comp plan stuff.
Commissioner Trask and Shooty, are you comfortable with putting it out a little bit and allowing the new commissioner the ability to study up on this?
Yep, that's fine.
I certainly am.
Do you care, Kevin?
But let's go ahead and put that in the works so that we can give a little deference to the new person coming in, and the ability to maybe even meet with you guys directly on it.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right, Kell, Marissa, what else you got for us?
That's it for me.
I'm done.
Commissioners, do you have anything for Kell or Marissa?
Not for me.
All right, thank you guys very much. Let's go ahead and move on to public health. Dave Windom.
And good morning, commissioners.
And just like that, we're caught up. What a concept.
Yeah, hey. So, right. We got 3 things this morning. I've got a request, and then we'll move on to Melissa and then Ian. So last week we had a very busy week. We had folks from United We Care in town to discuss some technology. Actually, we had 3 technology groups with us last week. We had United We Care, we had Kasana, and we had Harvard MedTech, looking at different ways that we can get mental health treatment out into the community, and then especially through for those who just don't have access to come into town for mental health care, and how do we use technology and use our phones, for example, to get into behavioral health care. So this piece I've got today is a proposal that we're looking to do with United We Care mental health technology. It's technology that you use on your phone that does uses AI as a screening method, and then actually does connect with counselors, certified listeners, and then therapists. So it's something new we'd like to try. The idea is to do this for January through April. It will give us the data. This program has excellent data on the back end to show us not by name, but by what kinds of issues the community is seeking help for through this software. This software's on the phones. We're looking at 2,500 participants in a pilot. The cost is $200,000, which is $80 per participant, which is a great value for us. The idea being that once we get through the pilot program, we see what our data is, to go to the legislature and look for funding to do this in a long-term way to get some of these services out in the community. The other two companies have products aimed at a little bit different audience. This is probably the widest, most broad software that we saw out there. So there will be no cost to the participants. If they have insurance, we can bill insurance, or the company can bill insurance, but it's not a requirement for anyone to have insurance. Like I said, there's no cost to the participant. So we're just looking for approval to go forward with, looking for funding to do the pilot program. We'd like to get things rolling in January if at all possible. So
Dave, are you saying can, or are you saying will bill when possible?
what's that?
Are you saying can or will bill when possible?
Well, we will, they will bill if possible.
Okay.
So if a person's, say, for example, their benefit gives them 3 visits and they need 10 visits, we'll cover the rest of them.
Gotcha. But whenever possible, you will bill so we can bring that revenue in.
Yeah. So it becomes budget neutral for us. So 200,000 includes all of that. So the United We Care, and I don't, is Ritu on here? See if she's here. I don't see her yet. But if she pops in, I invited the person I was working with last week to be on here. So we'll see if she pops in. This is really new technology, and it's a way for us to connect people with services. One of the things I've always been a little bit disappointed about is, although we do syringe exchange, are we really connecting people with care? And I'd like to expand that ability to connect folks to care. And I think it's really important moving forward. So this is a pilot. We'll see if it works. And we'll go forward from there. We'll get to do the evaluation in April and see what has happened.
Commissioner Schutte, questions?
None for me.
Commissioner Trask?
Yeah, none for me. I know that this sounds really interesting, and if we can make it easier for people to get the help that they need, I think it's a great idea.
I'm supportive. I think it's a great thing, especially if you're going to try and offset with new revenues coming in to do it when possible. That's always a good thing too.
Okay. All right. We will push forward on our search.
Okay. What else do you need from us, Dave?
Okay. Next up, we have Melissa.
Hi,
Good
Melissa.
morning, commissioners. I have a quick item. It's just an update. As you know, we're expanding our syringe service program to include kind of other prevention of transmissible diseases by providing testing and treatment of things like STI, HIV, Hep C, as well as wound care. We need an advanced registered nurse practitioner to provide those services. So we've been actually working on a position description with HR earlier this year, and it was determined that rather it would be more appropriate for it to be a contracted position. So we've already got it budgeted out of our public health funds. We're just keeping the board informed that we're finally ready to recruit for that position. We're hoping to start sending it out to a few different professional listservs and networks that we have, and hopefully have somebody on board by the new year so that we can begin rolling out these services. Any questions about that?
Commissioner Trask.
No questions from me. I think it's a great idea.
Mr. Schutte?
Yeah, I agree as well. Great job.
As do I.
Thank you.
Okay. And next we have Ian.
Good morning, Ian.
Morning, commissioners. Today I have for you a contract with Pierce County. This is a contract that's basically NEP funds that are going through DOH to Pierce County as a local integrating office, and then distributing those funds to local agencies in the South Sound. We have a portion coming to us, and part of this, and the majority of that funding is for the typical water quality work that we do. But I'm happy to see there's also a piece in there that goes to our Public Works Department for them to do a feasibility study to update some of their infrastructure in North Bay. which would be really great.
Commissioners, anything?
This is a great opportunity. This was, we talked a little bit about this at Alliance for a Healthy South Sound, and just a great opportunity for our county. So appreciate the work, Ian.
Absolutely. Commissioner Trask?
Yeah, great job. It's exciting to see how we're protecting our resources. So appreciate that a lot. Thank you, Ian.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ian. You got anything else for us?
Nope, just that as long as you're good for me to move that forward to the next action agenda.
I believe so. I'm seeing head shakes. Yes.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right, Dave, what you got? Anything else?
The only other thing I have, Commissioners, is we did get a report on influenza-like illnesses, and we're seeing a spike. Go figure, in November, flu is up. So nothing unusual, but it is actually showing up in the data. So we'll keep you informed if things really start to climb.
Any type of update on the school district?
They're working their well things through. Ian, are you still on there?
I am. They're working with the State Department of Health to lift that boil water advisory, but to my knowledge, they still have not lifted it yet. So they're continuing to serve bag lunches to the kids.
I just want to say I appreciate our staff's quickness in being involved with this before anything ever happened, from what I understand. Commissioners, anything else for Dave?
Yeah, just one quick thing. Dave, I don't know if you guys have continued to have any conversations, or maybe Melissa as well, just about our opioid settlement funds and looking at doing an RFP for some other projects in the community.
Yeah, in fact, I was just talking with the sheriff's office last week about a proposal that they would like to bring in, and the sheriff and I will sit down with Mark and start looking at that proposal. But we need to sit down as a commission and us and look at what we want to do going forward, put out some priorities. So
Anything else?
The sheriff's office is looking at it to help fund the it's the new version of the DARE program. And I think they briefed that a couple of weeks ago. So we thought that would be appropriate for the opioid fund.
Okay, more to come then. Thank you.
We need to have DARE back in schools. That's exciting.
All right. Anything else for Dave? Mark, you got anything?
Oh, I'm good, thanks.
All right. All right, Dave, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Next up, I have public health. Nope, I have public works. Loretta Swanson.
Morning.
Morning.
First up, Richard has an item for an equipment purchase.
Morning, Commissioners. Yeah, thank you for letting us purchase our skid steer earlier this year for solid waste, and we had enough money left over that we'd like to actually purchase a pickup broom attachment that has a little hopper. It'll make it a lot easier for us to keep that place looking good.
I think it's a no-brainer on this one. I'm glad that you're doing it. Commissioner Trask. Any issue with that?
Oh,
Commissioner Schutte?
Yeah, no good.
Let's make it happen.
Thank you.
Great. And then next up, Blair Sherman submitted his application for reappointment to TIPCAP. And so we're requesting an interview and reappointment for Blair.
I myself, commissioners, I don't feel I need an interview. I'm for reappointment. Do either of you desire an interview?
Nope, I'm good to reappoint.
nope. I think he's great. He's a great person to be on there. So that's perfect.
Yeah.
So it sounds like a reappointment, Loretta.
Awesome. That keeps it simple. So we will get going with that action item. And then commissioners, I'm not sure if Mackenzie was able to get some items in your packet for follow-up regarding the Bremerton ILA conversation.
I had something on my desk.
Okay.
Yep. So before you go into that, Loretta,
Yes.
I was just looking at the tip cap list and
Yes.
was noting that finding a representative for Commissioner District 2. We do not have any representation on tip cap from Commission District 2. So are we going to do some type of announcement similar to what Kell was doing in planning to let people know that there's openings available? Should we do a public service
I think we
announcement or?
did that not too long ago.
Oh,
Mark.
okay.
We're appointing Rainey Fogel, who lives
Yes,
too,
that's
Oh,
great.
good.
and Terry
Yep.
Lauber, I think, could applied from District 2. So
Great.
Yes.
So we will have at least one person? That's great.
Yep.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, thank you. Between our office and the commission office, we're constantly re-advertising here. So, and then of course we've got upcoming meetings. So we use those as opportunities for outreach to the community also and invite participation. Okay, so commissioners, I don't know where to begin on this other than at our last briefing, you had some direction to staff on next steps in taking a look at and reviewing a potential interlocal agreement with the city of Bremerton. And so we followed up on that. We met with Tim Whitehead to talk about just general liability and concerns and things that we need to bake in. And I thank commissioners for their individual comments and concerns that we received over the last couple weeks. Definitely appreciate that. We met on the 28th, I believe it was, with staff from the city of Bremerton and shared those comments and concerns and questions and kind of hashed out some details. And there is a summary, just a high-level summary of what those items were that we provided commissioners. And in conversing with ourselves, we think that the next logical step, we've had requests for government-to-government consultation with the Skokomish and the Squaxin Island tribes, and believe that the next step would be to follow up and formally engage with the tribes on that consultation. So you also have in there a draft letter, and I guess if it's agreeable to commissioners, what I would like or request is some potential meeting times, and then our thoughts are that this would be a communication that would come both from the city of Bremerton, because they specifically have made requests to the tribes relating to the grant application or the grant that they are being offered. And then, of course, we also will want to be chatting with our tribes about expanding our spray field capacity. So I guess that's my quick and dirty thoughts on that.
On the two that you put together on the letters, what is the difference? I'm trying to.
I think they're generally the same, Commissioner.
And that's what I'm finding, but there's got to be a difference between them, right? What's the difference? Or why would you have two in here?
two tribes.
Yeah, just
Oh, for the two different tribes?
yes,
Swanson
yes.
and Skokomish. Okay, I see it.
Yeah,
right.
it's
I thought
basically the
you
same
were
letter, but
just-
addressed to,
I didn't get this till this morning because I was gone, as you know.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'd say put it out to them and let's get some dates.
Okay, so we'll work with Mackenzie and find some potential dates.
Where will we have it? Would we be having it here or there, or have we not even gotten that far yet?
We have not. If you've got some suggestions or preferences, commissioners definitely welcome that.
I just remember that the king crab legs one year, so I'm always wishing that would.
What?
Yeah.
Food always makes
I don't
me
know.
happy,
Kevin
right?
was here for that when when they invited when you were here. Did you get the king crab legs, or was that after or before?
No, that was the first meeting, and then the second meeting was very different.
A very different. Yeah, I remember, but I still want the king crab if I can get it. Okay. Yeah, no, I'm open either way. Let us know for dates what you want to do, and we'll try and get forward.
Ideally, it would be great to do these like the same day. I just,
Yeah.
like
I don't disagree.
Up with like 7 different dates.
Yeah, it's hard enough, but
Yeah.
to separate them out, unless we can. If we can't, we can't. Let's meet with them when they can.
Okay.
Well, actually, and now, Commissioner Shear, you talking about meeting with them together or separately on the same day?
I was saying on the same day, but ideally, I mean, if we can do them at the same time, I mean, that's also good with me. I mean, have one big meeting, and we all talk through the concerns and make the most use of everybody's time.
Yeah, see if they're open to that. If not, then let's keep just moving forward. But if we could do them both on the same day, if we have to separate them, I agree that would be best. But I'm open to whatever it takes to get it done. Commissioner Trask.
Nope, that sounds good.
All right, Loretta, what else you got?
Just a reminder that on Wednesday evening, we have our community meeting for the Razor Road Improvement Project. So that's coming up at North Mason High School from 5:30 to 6:30. And then we also have our action item tomorrow to set the hearing for code revisions pertaining to the utilities. And commissioners, I know that you had some, you wanted to make sure that we had adequate review time on, in particular, we've got a recommended change to the finance section of the county code. And we have an audit committee meeting on Wednesday. So this is one day after we're setting the hearing. If you're comfortable with that, let us know, but there could be some recommendation or item that comes out of the audit committee meeting that may affect what the final action is on the finance portion of the code.
Commissioner Schutte. Comments, thoughts?
No comments for me on that.
Yeah. Commissioner Trask?
I'm curious to hear what the audit committee will have to say about that. If I think if there are issues that come up, we can always extend or push the hearing out. I think I would defer to Mark and Diane on that one, and Mackenzie.
What do you think, Mark?
Yeah, I wish I had a better feel for that. I don't know what's going to come out of the audit committee on that. I think it's important to review with the audit committee to kind of keep them in the loop, but I'm not sure that. Does this normally, I've never been through a process like this with the audit committee on a topic like this. Is that something that normally goes through the audit committee, and what recommendation? Yeah, I guess I wish I had a better feel for it, Commissioner.
Well, and as for myself, who's been on the audit committee, quite often none of this stuff would come before. But if it is, they're going to have opinions, as you know, Mark. You sit there, and I'm wondering if we already set the meeting, or is this to set the meeting on tomorrow's agenda?
It is to set the meeting on tomorrow's agenda.
And have you already put anything into the paper?
We have not, but that would follow on Thursday. Yeah. So
my question is, I guess because of that, are we better off to postpone that just a little bit until we know for sure?
I'm okay with getting it out there and having the audit committee take a look at it. I'm not sure that they would have much. I'm trying to just think what they would, if they had feedback for us, what would that feedback be? I feel like we have it fairly well covered, and so just. And
is it something we can make an adjustment to on the fly as a commission, which most likely there would be? But if something heavy came up, we could always postpone, as Commissioner Trask had mentioned. So if you're comfortable with, go ahead and allow it to be set, I'll ask the commissioners, are you comfortable with allowing it to be set at this time? I'm seeing head shake. So yes, let's go ahead and do that, Loretta, and we'll deal with it as we go if something comes out of it.
Okay.
Are you going to be, Mark, can we make sure and see if either Loretta or Richard would be invited to this one?
They would have to be invited to this one, so yes. I'm just trying to think of, was there a time set for the audit committee? It seemed like the last one I got was canceled and then they were looking for another date.
Yeah, I believe it is at 10 o'clock on Wednesday.
On this Wednesday?
Yes, in the commission chambers.
Oh, I will not be at that audit committee
And
meeting.
and neither will I. I will be attending the Gorst area thing. And then speaking, so I'm wondering if we may have to postpone that one anyway. If you're not going to be there and I'm not going to be there. We'll find out.
Okay.
Okay, what else we got?
I think that
I got to back up one thing. Commissioners, the last time we discussed it was the full intention that all three commissioners would be at this road improvement district public meeting. Is that still the case?
On Wednesday?
Yes.
No, I will be in Vancouver. I never said that I would be there.
In the evening, no, I never intended to attend that. I was deferring to you.
Okay, because I remember when we asked whether you wanted me to do it, we wanted all three commissioners to do it. That was the original discussion on when to have the meeting, on whether to have a meeting. So, but if I have no problem, I'll go. I just thought that was the whole intention, was to have all three commissioners there for that. But I'm good with it.
I've been planning on being in Vancouver for the Wasatch County.
No, I'm going back to the time when we were talking about whether to have the meeting and what to do, not on this specific date. That's not what I'm talking about. So, but if you guys are okay with me just being there on my own, I am, and we can do it.
Yeah, fine with me.
Okay.
I'm comfortable that we can gather the information from that meeting and come back and present it to the entire commission.
Yep, I agree.
And commissioners, we're planning on hosting this more as just a kind of open house with tables available with staff to present individually and respond to questions, not as a formal presentation, if you will. So just want to make sure that that is meeting with expectations.
As if I'm going to be the only one there, I like that more.
Okay, perfect.
I actually like that a lot better, but that's all good.
Perfect. And then we plan on having additional paper copies of the survey. We've had a relatively low response on the Survey Monkey itself, but had comments from many folks saying just internet access and ability, all of those things. So we want to make sure that we're getting good feedback, and we'll collect comments via paper as well.
So with that, commissioners, I want to throw in it was my understanding that the reason for the meeting is to, for years they've been telling me they want this, but when the rubber hits the road and it costs money and takes time, sometimes they're not. So it was to measure their desire on whether or not to move forward. And if their desire is not, then it's taken off of our plate. That was what I understood. But is that any different than what we're thinking?
Not right now, no.
Okay.
Yeah,
Mr. Trask, I just want to make sure I represent you well when I'm there. So, okay. All right. What else you got?
All right. I think that's it, commissioners.
Okay. Do you have any questions for Loretta? I do. Shoot. I have something for you, Loretta. Let me see.
Sure.
I'll go ahead. Oh, one thing I do need you to take a look at Bonnie Knight and that property and all the stormwater that's coming off of there. Been
Yep.
receiving phone calls. I'd like to go for a walk with it with you and staff to look at some of the options and things that are happening there.
Okay.
I know I had more, but I'm gonna just leave it at that and I'll contact you later when I figure out what the other part is.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right. Thank you guys very much.
Thank
Oh, hey,
you.
I had.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought
Yeah.
you shook your head. No, my
No, it's
apologies.
all good. No, it's all good. So Loretta, I just might want to find some time with you and Mark to talk a little bit about some of the things that are on the sewer document you put together. I'm particularly interested in a conversation around the available remaining connections and just kind of what, if anything, our policy says about when, what that reserve level is or should be, and then to the actually what's written here is to have 117 remaining. What are those trigger points, right? Like, what does our policy say about when you have to, start going down the path of, expansion? Because I think that 117 number is super scary to me, just in terms of, future growth, even in the Belfair UGA. And so I do see the cost estimate here about design upgrades and things like that. So I just want to have a little bit more conversation with you about kind of what your internal planning is or should be when you start to get to that point, and just what the plan is to address it.
Yep, absolutely.
And maybe your update, Richard, on what you've been working on for gallon reassessments. ERU. For me later on, that's something I'd like to talk to you about. All right, Commissioner
Rather
Grass?
quick, yeah, real quick. Did I know you shared Commissioner Schuette's questions with us regarding the ILA?
Yes.
Did you share the ones that I had with the commissioners?
No, I need to forward those. Thank you very much, Commissioner Trask.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, anything else?
Not now.
Okay, this time I think I got a clear path. I thank you guys very much, and we're gonna go ahead and move on to the next one, which is Mark Neary, Support Services.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and let Mackenzie get us kicked off here.
Good morning, Commissioners. The first item is just the office space lease extension with Crossroads Housing for the Veteran Service Officers up in Belfair. Everything is the same. It'll still be the $550 per month paid from the Veterans Assistance Fund.
Questions, comments, commissioners?
No, I like it.
Okay. We're all on board with you.
Thank you.
Alrighty, Mary, want to talk about our class and comp survey?
So, good morning, Commissioners. Before you, I have the list of final recommendations for the non-rep class and comp study for 24. Again, we had asked them to look at not only market adjustments, but internal, external equity, compression issues, and then FLSA status, also titling. So these final recommendations also took into account the application of the 2% across the board that was already approved for non-reps in 2025. We did meet with impacted departments. I think Central Services is the only one we haven't been able to touch base with as a group, but I have touched base with Jen about the position in her department. So in order to apply, well, actually, let me just summarize really quick what the final recommendations are. So maintaining Y rates for county engineer, chief finance officer, engineering construction manager, county surveyor, and engineering construction assistant manager. Application of market adjustments to the chief criminal deputy, building official, facilities manager, solid waste manager, chief deputy clerk, risk manager, equipment maintenance supervisor, road ops and maintenance supervisor, senior epidemiologist, therapeutic court program manager, public records coordinator, epidemiologist, deputy coroner, and therapeutic courts caseworker. Positions that are still being recommended to move from exempt to non-exempt starting January 1 of 25. The juvenile detention manager, the chief deputy assessor, treasurer, and clerk. Environmental health supervisor, elections administrator, public works office administrator, HR analyst, risk manager, equipment maintenance supervisor, road ops and maintenance supervisor, senior epidemiologist, finance manager 1, therapeutic court program manager. I also had, after meeting with departments, some hold ones that we're not ready to take action on because there's some additional review that they've requested. And so we're recommending no changes to these positions at this time until we can get those reviews done, which would be the jail chief, chief superior court administrator, chief district court administrator, juvenile court services deputy administrator, engineering and construction assistant manager, and then the central services financial analysts. So that's kind of a summary. When the decision that I'm asking the board to make would be around how to apply any market adjustments that are approved. There are two different methodologies. So the first one is basically taking an employee and putting them at whatever would be the closest step of their new range to what their current salary is. So for example, if I'm at step 1 of my range, I'm being moved up 2 ranges based on the study, that I would stay at a step 1 because that's the closest to what I'm already making as a base wage. The second option is to move employees the actual step that they're already in. So if let's say at a range 38, and we are saying, oh, my market adjustment needs to move me to a range 40, I would go from the step I'm at in range 38 to the step I'm at in range 40. So below that, Jen was amazing and put together these budget impacts based on the 2 different options. So if you wanted to accept all the market adjustments that are recommended and then move an employee to their closest wage, that's the first number. And then if you wanted to move an employee to the same step they're currently at in the new range they're being recommended to move to, that's the number out next to it. I did attach the updated salary schedule and then the final versus what the initial recommendations are, so you can see the difference between the 2 different briefings.
Okay. Are you looking for some comments from the commissions right now? Questions?
Yes, and direction on application of market adjustments. What is the commission willing to move forward to action, if anything, and how would the commission like us to proceed with the study findings?
Commissioner Schutte.
Yeah, thanks, Mary. This is really great. Between those 2 options, which is the one that gets us most in line with what we're trying to do from a compensation strategy perspective? So within I think the 5% or whatever we had been using.
For myself, is your question what gets us closer to what our normal task has always been, our normal way of handling it has been?
Right. Like would one be essentially in line with what our strategy has been, and would one not be, so like if, for instance, is the 275 what it would take to get in line with our strategy, or does the 199 get us there?
It depends on the employee because it's based off of the range. So the employee step would be where they're at in that range would be a factor that the a lot of math. So if they're in the range, they're being put in that range, that gets us where we need to be. So if it could be step 1 or the step that they're currently at. Last time we did the step that they're currently at, and if it was over 10%, then we broke it up into 2 different moves. However, the recommendation from Cabot Dow Associates is the other option, which is to place them at their closest wage in the new range.
Oh, why?
Best practice.
Gotcha. But both are in keeping with our strategy. So
yes, both would get us in the ranges we need to get to.
But so if we do that though, aren't we jumping over because if we're setting the range says this, and this is where they should be range wise, if we're adding steps into it, aren't we bringing them above the work we've done to establish range?
So the problem is that the class and comp study looks at positions, and now we're trying to figure out how do we apply these position changes to individual employees. So it just depends on the employee. If you have an employee who's been stepped out for X amount of years and they're moving to a new range, you then are going from a step 10 to a step 10, and then there's no movement again. So just something to keep in mind.
And I
But
guess that's my question though, because I can see going from step 10 to step 11 and being able to work the way through. I have a hard time seeing us go from step 10 top of the scale to step 11 top of the scale with nowhere still to go. If you're going to move them up a number, it would make sense that then they start to go through the process of working through the number at steps like everybody else.
I mean, that's the recommendation from,
So the recommendation is to do it that way, to bring them in at step 1 and then work their way up through the ranks.
to bring them in at the step that is closest to whatever their current base wage is. So if you look, our ranges overlap to some degree because they're only 2.5% apart. So it would be, if I'm stepped out at a range, 38, I may need to stay stepped out at a range 40, or depending on where the person is stepped, it might be lower, like step 6 or 7.
Okay, so if we went with that recommendation, we'd be bringing them in closest to where the numbers say that they actually are.
Yes.
Okay, I'm supportive of that. That makes sense. The way it was explained, it came out a little bit opposite. Commissioner Trask, what do you think?
I'm still confused. So if we're trying to put them at market rate and we're just moving them to their closest wage, how are we putting them at market rate?
You're moving them into the range that their market says they should be in.
So when they did the study, I'm just using a number that they came in at range 41 in the study, and that's where they should be, not according to steps, but where they should be according to what you found. So we're placing them in range 40. We're just not place them at the top of the range, because that would actually put them above their numbers, because you went with a basic range number, right? Just using 40.
Right. So it's like the mid high, right? And we were shooting for negative or plus 5% of the mid, which then determines what range we put them in. And then how you want to apply that market adjustment of the range to each employee depends on the employee and what step that they're in currently.
Does that make sense, Commissioner Trask?
No.
No,
Okay,
I get it. Would you like?
I'm not getting how we're trying to put them at market rate if we're keeping them at the same rate of pay, if that makes sense. So if we're trying to get them to where they should be at according to our market, then how can they stay at?
It's only the step level. It's only the step level. You're right. But what she's saying is they would move them. They would get the pay raise because they're moved to a new level. Section 40, 41, 42. It's just the steps aren't changed. They come in at the other step and work their way up. Would you rather have us table this and have them come in and meet with you, Commissioner?
Yeah, let's do that. If you don't mind.
I don't mind. I always think that's best. Commissioner Schutte, are you okay if we do that?
Yeah, no, that's good. Just for my own sake. So Commissioner, you're leaning towards the 199,000.
Yes, I'm leading towards a recommendation that's
As am I. I just wanted to be clear where we were.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm good if Commissioner Trask wants a little bit of conversation with Mary and Mark on this.
Yeah, I do need more conversation on this.
Hey, that's okay. We don't make decisions in a vacuum here. So that's what we'll do. Mary, if you don't mind, will you, unless you tell me this is so time sensitive, we should not do that. Okay, I'm seeing her head shake no, so let's do that. Please meet with Commissioner Trask and answer her questions so that we can make an educated decision from all three of us.
Okay.
I appreciate that. What else you got?
My next item is the approval of the collective bargaining agreement for the correction support staff. I thought the parties worked really well together to reach an agreement and a great outcome for the union members and for the county. So I'd like to request that be moved to action agenda on November 19th, so tomorrow. The agreement's on file with McKinsey, and I'm really excited about this because this is this will be, I think, the first year in a long time we've closed all our contracts before they've expired. This is the last one. So really exciting for us as a county.
Okay, so I agree this should be on tomorrow's agenda. Commissioner Trask, are you comfortable with that?
Yep, that's fine.
Commissioner Schutte, are you comfortable?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let's make it happen.
Okay.
Now, there's an outstanding part of that, commissioners, when we were talking about another personnel level on the higher range. The discussions that we had were twofold. There was a discussion whether to do that now or whether to wait and just have that included into the budget for implementation January 1st.
But are you talking corrections or?
No, I was talking the attorneys, the woodworkers. That's coming up next. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit ahead of you.
Oh, okay.
We'll wait. Go ahead.
So
But
the next item I have
please
is-
think of that.
Okay, a memorandum of understanding with the prosecuting attorney woodworkers. In our personnel policy 5.2.1, the Board of County Commissioners has the authority to give pay adjustments or market adjustments as they see fit. And so the county will be applying a market adjustment to the classifications of deputy prosecutor attorney 1, 2, and senior. And attached is the MOU. And yes, that was the question. The classifications would be in effect December 1 of 24. And I believe that answers or goes into your budget discussion. I'm not sure, Commissioner.
It does, but there's also a second part of that. And just so the public knows, it's believe it or not, both of the woodworkers lodge for a union, even for the attorneys as well. It's the same. No, my question was in regards to another position that is not on the union that we had discussed. I'm comfortable with the other. I'm comfortable with putting that on the agenda to have it put into place immediately. And then it's the other position. We hadn't decided whether to bring that. If we're going to put this on the agenda for tomorrow, should we put the other position on the agenda for tomorrow as well, or wait and have it included in January 1st as some of the discussions we had had?
I think we were going to have discussion about it first and brief it. I can brief it next week or the week after.
Okay, I'm comfortable with that. Are you, commissioners, or did you want to add it to the agenda?
Or can we just add it to the budget discussions? And then do it at the first of the year?
At the first what?
At the first of the year when we do the budget?
Oh, first of the year. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't understand the word.
Oh, sorry.
So and that's one of the things that we had discussed is having it implemented on January 1st. Commissioner Schutte?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay. All right. So are we comfortable though with adding this other one on tomorrow's agenda so we can get this thing started immediately?
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Trask?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Mary. The all-seeing financial person. Do you have a comment on this, or are you just getting ready for your part?
Well,
Sure.
I do have a clarification question on this, but yeah, I was just getting ready for my part too. But on that, the prosecutor's MOU, so you're saying that you want it in the adopted budget?
It will have to be. If we're going to, the numbers are going to have to be included. If we pass it tomorrow, it's going to have to be included somewhere in there.
Okay, I was just clarifying that you wanted it.
Commissioners, is there any way you disagree on that? Because I don't know how we could not have it included inside the budget.
Yeah, no, I think it has to be there.
Commissioner Trask?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, thank
For
you.
clarification, were you planning on doing the same thing with the corrections contract, Jen?
Yes, but I thought they were saying that they weren't going to put it on the agenda for tomorrow, so that's what I wanted to clarify. If it's not going on the agenda tomorrow, you still want it in the budget, the
It's
adopted.
all going on the agenda tomorrow. There's one position, a non-represented position that there's discussions around that will hold off until implementation. We'll talk about it during budget, but implementation, it appears, will hold off till January 1st. January 1.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Mary, do you have anything else for us? Did we clarify? Okay.
Yep, thank you.
All right, thank you. What else you got, Mark?
I believe Jen's up next.
Yes, so the first thing that I have is the American Rescue Plan Act contract with the Youth Connection. This would be contract amendment number 2. They are asking to amend the contract to include renovation costs of the first and second story and not just the elevator costs because of permitting getting delayed a little bit. They're afraid that the elevator will come in later on. They're afraid it will come in after the contract expires in June of 2025.
How would you like to handle this?
I mean, I think it's fine to let them bill renovation costs. I mean, I think it's fine, but it's really up to you. I think that if we don't let them, then we run the risk of them not getting that elevator installed in time and then losing those ARPA funds. And then we would not lose the ARPA funds. We would reallocate them, but I'm not sure what the Youth Connection would do at that point.
But by allowing them to do that, we don't even have that option, that issue anymore. The risk of that goes away. They would continue to still move forward with what they were doing. It's just money from a different pot. Mark?
So I think that it goes back to the intent. What was the intent of the commissioners when they awarded these ARPA funds? And so if the intent of the commission was to help the youth services expand, then I would say allow them to use it for whatever they need to do in order to do that expansion and still fall within our timelines associated with our contract.
Yeah.
So I think that by giving them the funds now to say, hey, and expanding the contract to say you can use it for improvements also and not just the elevator, then they could potentially start on those other improvements that are currently they're able to start moving forward on and spend that money. And then the elevator stuff they'd have to get from a different source.
Past Commissioner Drexler, I'm sorry, but right now we're not doing any of the discussions with the outside unless it comes to that. So I'm going to go to Commissioner Schutte. Commissioner Schutte, are you comfortable with the reallocation?
I am.
Commissioner Trask, are you comfortable with the reallocation?
Oh, absolutely.
And as am I. So we're going to be reallocated in any way, past Commissioner Drexler. So what else you got?
The next thing that I have is a request for funding of 0.09 rural county sales and use tax funding from Fund 103 from the Port of Grapeview. They're asking for $40,000 to make repairs there. I don't know if you had a chance to look at the application, but they're looking for boat ramp repairs, parking lot asphalt surface repairs, and then well building and equipment storage building repairs. So this is currently not on the SEDS list, but I believe Commissioner Schutte was going to forward them an application. And so I just wanted to see how you wanted to move forward with this, commissioners, or if you wanted to move forward with opening up the 0.09 funding application again. This is too late for the adopted budget for 25, since it has to go out for comment to the city and the ports, but we could look at reopening that process.
Personally, I believe it, unless it's an emergency situation, we need to stay within the original process that we have for everybody else. Opening it up doesn't seem to make sense. But I also want to make a point of something that I'm a little concerned about. And I've been very supportive every time they've come to us for money, but I want to make sure that we're not starting to use 09 funds for all the different entities, maintenance and operation for all the stuff they normally do. And if we do, I'm not saying no, I'm saying if we do, then we need to open it up for everybody to do the same thing. What do you think, Commissioner Schutte?
Yeah, so I think, and I've talked to Jen and Mark a little bit about this. I think what the county ought to do is have an RFP process for projects. We have obviously commitments to our sewer system in Belfair and the city and EDC and some other smaller things. But if there is funding available in there and we're going to consider going out and appropriating it, then I think there should be an actual solicitation of projects. I know that in the past it's been the comment letter that has gone out has kind of served as an alert that you know, that there's funding happening, but in my conversations with other organizations, nobody really takes it like that, and nobody really knows how they can access these funds in order to do, you know, to do projects that are in line with what the statute says. So I don't have a particular issue with supporting the Port of Great View's project, but I think big picture, if there is going to be any kind of awarding of these funds, there needs to be a very clear process so that organizations can apply to it, and the county can then evaluate those projects, and there could be a SEDS list conversation and all that kind of stuff. I just think right now it's a little bit unclear how to access those funds, and I think that's an equity issue.
Yeah, and I think we've done some of that over the years by making sure that it was on the SEDS list, but it could probably be expanded to be better. And it does make sense to me to actually have ask the question. You got stuff coming up this year you'd like for us to consider, because we do look at the dollars as a whole as we're going through budget. Commissioner Trask.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have a system that people are aware of. So as far as going out right or doing this again, opening it up again, I don't know that we should do that. Because we've already done it for 2025. But I would absolutely encourage them to put in their application for the following year.
So I'm going to start with this question, Commissioner Trask. On what's before us right now, the way it stands, are you no on moving forward with it at this moment?
I am, only because we've already been through the process once, and so I mean, in the big picture, $40,000, is it a lot of money? Yeah, it's a lot of money, and we've already gone through the process, so I would hate to open it up again.
Okay. Commissioner Schutte, are you in the same mindset?
So I would be supportive of it, and I think that I respect the position of the commission, but I think the one thing is, does anybody really know that we went through a funding round for this? I think that's the struggle that I have, is that we haven't really made it clear when funding is available, and we get these one-off things, and it gets kind of complicated. So that's the only kind of caveat that I have. I'm not sure that people knew that there was funding available, or if there's funding available, and how to access it. So that's my only caveat.
No, and I understand and agree with that. I do know for sure, though, that we went through this with the Port of Great View and explained to them before that it had to be, in order to go for these funds, it had to be on the SEDS list. And so they're aware that it has to be on the SEDS list. So I think that they need to, instead of opening back up a SEDS list, they need to make sure that it's on for the next ones in order to have to reach out and ask for those monies. So that's where I'm at on it. So it sounds like we have two that are for going through the process. I'm not sure whether I understood whether or not you want to open it up right now for them, Commissioner Schutte, or you're saying that we stick with the process and hopefully we do better the next year of actually doing an ask for people that might be interested in the 09 funds.
Yeah, I'm supportive of the project. I think we need to have a clearer process.
Okay, so at this time, though, with the process we have, just leave it as is.
I think that's clear that it's going to stay closed. So,
okay. All right. What else you got?
So yeah, I'll send out a letter and I'll run that by the commission next year, earlier in the year, that the process is opening, and maybe we can say how much we have available. I don't know. We can figure that process out.
I'm not sure we'll know that, but at least if we get the letter out and we tell them that they have to be on the SEDS list in order to be considered for it and what things can be used for it, it'd be a good equal playing field for everybody that's involved. So it don't cost us that much money to send it out to each one of the entities. We send it out to ask them.
Sorry. Okay. I was just going to ask Jen if you could just give us a quick update now on what kind of the capacity of the 09 fund is. Like, where I know we're going to get a financial update here in a few minutes, but for the context of this conversation, kind of what's that fund balance looking like?
So I have an estimated beginning fund balance for next year of 2.85 million.
How much of that is considered to be earmarked?
So we give 450,000 a year to Belfair Sewer, and we give it's like a couple $100,000, I believe, to City of Shelton.
Yeah.
The operating for next year is 683,000 and some odd change.
When you're saying the operating, what do you mean? You mean on top of
Oh, I'm sorry. I mean the total expenditures.
okay, that's all right.
And what are you projecting for us to bring in 09 for 25?
I'm estimating revenues to be 1,255,000.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next thing that I have is the budget, the 2025 budget, and I'll share my screen so you can take a look at the summary. And this is required to be on the or available to the public today, 2 weeks prior to budget adoption. So this is out on the county's website under budget, the summary and detail. So we'll start with current expense or the general fund. Right now, our estimated beginning fund balance is 26.5 million. Estimated revenues for 2025 are $44,180,934. And estimated salaries and benefits expenditures, $36,670,641. Total operating expenditures at this time are estimated at $18,932,646. And ending fund balance is estimated at $15,077,647. We are currently budgeting for 290.12 FTEs in the general fund. In special funds, we have total estimated beginning fund balances of $55,694,024. Total revenues at $57,924,385. For total resources of $113,618,409. Salaries and benefits are estimated at $16,104,488. Total operating expenditures are estimated at $55,706,896. Ending fund balance is estimated at $41,807,025 for total budget of $113,618,409. And the grand total with the general fund is estimated at $184,299,343. And I do still have to make a few changes for the budget adoption on December 2nd, or the proposed budget adoption on December 2nd. So I'll add in, once the those contracts that Mary talked about earlier, once those are adopted, I'll add those into the budget for corrections, and then the prosecuting attorney's office. We have the property taxes to revisit. I just got amended property tax estimates from the assessor's office this morning. So in the budget for go back to current expense, in the treasurer's office is where the property tax revenue sits. We have $10,633,122 included in that amount. The total right now is estimated at $10,678,278, which is an increase of $45,156. And then in the mental health tax fund, 164, we have their property tax estimate is $227,158 currently, and it's moving to $230,404. That's an increase of $3,246. So I'll make that change. The Veterans Fund 190, their property tax is currently estimated at $145,000, and it's increasing to $146,532. That's an increase of $1,532. One thing I wanted to make note of on the PLRs, we have included in the general fund budget under Superior Court expenditures in their salaries. The commission approved the ITA court commissioner for an additional 16 hours a month. And at the time I had said that that would be additional revenue coming in, that would be offset by revenue. And after talking to Superior Court and the prosecutor's office, that is not the case. It's just shifting that expense from the current ITA court commissioner to the other court commissioner that they're going to hire. So I wanted to make sure that was clear and understood, and that you still wanted to move forward with that, commissioners.
Commissioner Trask, I know that when it was being explained, that's what I understood anyway. So I'm going to be comfortable with where we're at on that. But where are you at after hearing that redescription?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay, Commissioner Shooty?
Me as well.
Okay.
Thank you. And then I will add in the change from the CSOs to the corrections deputies. That's about $20,000 a position. So that'll be an increase of $40,000 in expenditures. So I believe that's all that I have at this time on the budget.
Jennifer, would it be okay to have a discussion at this time about one position change? Is this the proper time, or do you have another place earmarked for having that discussion?
No, this would be the proper time.
Commissioners, I want to throw it out one more time with everything that's going on in the auditor's office. I think this is the appropriate time to have that discussion again about reclassifying the position, allowing the auditor to be able to work within his framework what he thinks is best. It's an increase of $10,000 on the budget, but I think it's something that has to be done in order for him to be able to do his job, and it's been his request. So I'm going to throw that out one more time in hopes of reconsideration. Commissioner Trask, I'll start with you.
If I had a guarantee from the auditor, and I did have a conversation with him, but I told him that he can have this ask, but he promised that there would be no backfill. So as long as there is no backfill, I'm good moving forward on this.
Yeah, I want to double check something, Jennifer. At our request, if we remove the position, the other position, there is no possibility of a backfill. It'd have to be a complete request for a whole new position. Is that correct? If we remove that other position from our budget.
If we remove it, yes, he would have to come and ask for it again. Yeah. Yes.
And I know it was my intention that it would be removed. That was my understanding as well, that that other position will no longer be there to backfill. This is changing the other position. Commissioner Shooty.
Yeah, still a no. I mean, I get where you're at on it. I do think it's kind of interesting that, there's all this work to be done on the election side, and we're going to add more work to that position and remove it and change it. So I don't necessarily agree with the direction there, but I understand that it's going to move forward.
Okay. So Commissioner Trask, are you comfortable with us removing that line, of the other position when this shift occurs? Just completely removing it from the budget.
Yeah, gosh, this honestly was a very difficult decision for me, because I'm not one that likes to play games, and I want to make sure that there are no games that are going to be played on this position. I am worried, as Commissioner Shooty, I'm worried about the elections, because it's such a big, important part of that, of the auditor's office. And so I do worry about it being able to function as it should, because our elections process is so important, and we need to make sure that our people understand that it's how important it is and how much we want our elections to be secure and run effectively. So no, this is a difficult, it was a very difficult decision for me. And just know that, no games, man.
Yep. No, we'll just go ahead and remove that line with remove that other position for no backfill. So with that, we'll go ahead and move forward. Jennifer, what
Okay.
else have you got?
So the next couple of things before we move on to the financials for October. I just have a couple of things. So for tomorrow, we have the resolution setting the public hearing for December 17th for the 2024 budget amendments. And after talking to Public Health and Public Works, I want to ask to increase their budget amendments. Public Health, it looks like their budget would be really tight. And so I'm thinking, and Dave thought too, 300,000 from their ending fund balance, moving that into professional services would give them a little more peace of mind on their budget.
Commissioner Schutte, how do you feel on that?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Commissioner Trask?
Yep, sounds good.
Same here.
Great, thank you. And then on the landfill, it looks like probably 200,000 would be sufficient to put my mind at ease there.
So you can sleep at night. Commissioner Trask?
Yep, that sounds good.
Commissioner Schutte?
All good with me.
Same.
And then the Belfair sewer, after talking to Richard, they're spending a lot more time there on that system, and it looks like there is budget amendment for their salaries to move there, but I don't think it's going to be enough. I would recommend adding an additional $30,000 into their salaries on this budget amendment.
Commissioner Schutte?
Good with me.
Great.
Commissioner Trask?
Yep, sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you. The next thing that I have, and I can bring this forward next week if you want, but the ARPA downtown fiber project, we have retainage to pay out on that project of $9,139.21. And that project currently doesn't have any other ARPA funding. We weren't accounting for that in the grand total, and we said, oh, this project is done. I believe it was 189,000, but we need to add in that or pay out that $9,139.21. So I want to put that onto an action agenda to move that out of the general fund salaries and benefits and into that fiber project. So if you want me to do a formal briefing, I can, but
I don't need one. Commissioner Schutte?
I don't either.
Commissioner Trask?
Nope, I don't either.
No, we're good, Jennifer.
great, thank you. And that can go on the December 3rd agenda. And then our enterprise, the last thing before we move into the financials, enterprise, they donate to a 501c3 on our behalf. And last year they donated, I believe it was about $1,000 to $1,500 to Turning Point. And so they're asking what 501c3 you would
Continue.
like.
Commissioner Trask, I'm gonna leave you out of this discussion for a moment if you don't mind. Commissioner Schutte, are you okay with continuing?
Yes.
As am I. Commissioner Trask, are you okay with me leaving you out of that discussion?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. So yeah, go ahead. You have to continue forward with Turning Point.
Okay, thank you. I'll share my screen. And I just wanted to make sure that, because we can choose a different 501c3. So just
No, it's a good one. I'm fully supportive.
Great, thank you.
Commissioners, I know we have people here from LTEC, the lodging tax, and they were scheduled to be on the agenda at, I think it was 11:50.
Yeah.
You want to do that first?
Yeah, Jennifer, do you have is this going to be a long, or do you have more afterwards?
I just have the financials. We don't even have to go through it if you don't want
The
to.
heck we don't. I love the financials.
Okay. Well, you can go ahead and do the LTAC.
You don't mind sticking around?
No.
Mark Neary, it's your department. Do you mind if we go ahead and jump in front of that?
Go for it.
Okay. All right. Bear with me here. All right, we're going to go ahead and postpone the discussion on our financials, and we'll get back to it. We're going to move into lodging tax tourism service presentation. Who's leading this one? Commissioner Trask, you're the chair, right?
I am, but I'm going to toss it to Diane.
Okay, Diane.
And I'm gonna toss it to Rachel. She is our biggest contract, and then we have the other vendors on here. If there's any questions on the services they provide, but I know that Rachel has a lot of things going on, so if she wants to come on, that'd be great.
Yeah, I want to remind the commission, according to the way the law works, we cannot, we can just approve or not approve. We cannot direct where the funds go. That has to come from the recommendation from the organization, and we just approve or disapprove of it. Is that correct, Diane?
Yes, and today isn't about approving any kind of proposals or anything. It's just to let the board know what the lodging tax is paying for on their contracts that they're in right now.
Go ahead, Rachel. Neo?
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes,
Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and share my screen if that's okay.
please.
Uh-oh. No, can you guys see that?
There you go.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Is it
No, you got it back. You got it right now.
okay? Is there another screen on top of the screen? I seem to be having
Not anymore. You had one, but now
Okay.
it looks correct.
Well, let me do it. Oh, dang. Okay. All right. I have a screen in front of mine, so I'm gonna have to guess what I'm saying. But I should know it by heart anyway. So I represent Northwest Event Organizers, and which is the contractor for your Mason County tourism. And I appreciate the faith you guys have had in me. I've had the contract since 2018. You renewed me last year. And so thank you very much for your support. It's been an absolutely wonderful journey. As you can see, hold on, I just got to clear something off my screen here. For some reason, I have a thing. I can't actually see my. Okay, so as you can see from the financials, I thought since you like those so much, Randy, I'd start right there with that. Lodging tax has been on an upward trajectory throughout the last 7 or 8 years. It's I did do a screenshot on your lodging tax budget there. That while I was listening to your stuff, and I was like, oh, that's cool, because you do have a balance and a fund as well, and we have continual revenue coming in. The revenue has increased over the years quite a bit. Year to date for 2024, or actually it should be 24 down there, we have 982,000 for 2024. Last year at this point, we were at 908. So I would assume that we're going to come in higher than the 1.066 that we had last year. So it does seem to be increasing. I'm sure it will level out at some point, but it does seem to be increasing. And I attribute that to our incredibly high cost to rent an Airbnb right now. It's the costs to do it are very, very expensive, but people are willing to pay it because they get an absolutely wonderful destination known as Mason County, and it is an amazing place to go. Any questions on the LTAC revenues at all?
Not for me.
Move on then, thanks.
Commissioner Schutte, any questions? Okay, sorry.
All right, and why won't it continue on? Sorry. Okay. No, I'm going backwards. Okay, so Mason County, as part of my contract, 30% of it goes to supporting events. And the events that we really heavily support are Allen Days, the Bluegrass Festival. As you know, Christmas Town is something that we kind of started on our own because part of the contract also entails us to try to bring in new events where the season doesn't already have stuff going on. So Christmas Town is an event that goes over pretty much the entire month. So we tried to start in November with, we have now called it Festival of the Furs so that we can incorporate the events that are happening in Allen, Belfair, Union, and then also try to give support to folks in Hood Sport so that they can develop their events. And then we can market it all as one thing. And we use Seattle Met, 1889 Magazine, Portland Monthly, which is hitting our I-5 corridor of folks to really get the message out about the wonderful things that are happening in our county, and obviously increase revenues for our folks who are trying to have off-season. Hold on a second, I'm sneaking away. Sorry, that was
That's okay.
Sorry about that.
That doesn't happen very often, I will tell you.
So as you know, we had the Guinness World Record back in 2019, which we got a lot of grassroots attention from. So we kind of use that as our anchor point for a lot of the events that we host around the community, bring people to Shelton, come to the maze, try to have more things going on in Shelton, and then get them to appreciate the rest of the county. And hopefully either get them to stay a few nights on our off shoulder, but also encourage them to come back when the weather is better as well. So through that, I work with a ton of media folks that developed really good relationships with. Scenic Washington is one of my favorites. That group does the tourism marketing from Washington State Tourism. Jennifer, who's their person, she's now a close friend of ours, and she comes out and features us and Mason County and the things we're doing routinely on their website and all their social media. They have a really strong social media, and they also create the maps for Washington State Tourism. So it's a really good connection to get to be on the source side for Mason County, because we're a very small county. It's kind of nice to be able to be playing with the bigger areas that have larger budgets and a lot more people working. We can be at the table when decisions are made for tourism in Washington State and some of the events they attend all over the United States and also internationally. We work closely with a gentleman called Craig Romano, who has written all the guidebooks for around pretty much Washington, Oregon, British Columbia, and he's kind of the be-all authority on it. And so when we do our adventure guides and our hikes guides and our waterfall guides, he helps me with all the edits to make sure that they are up to date, because we do shorter runs, we do lots of them. And that way, if there's any changes on the hikes, or perhaps he wants to add a new hike, we're able to do that and keep it updated as much as possible. And having Craig Romano kind of in our court, he comes out here, he'll speak make presentations and stuff. And he's always an advocate for Mason County and our hikes, and just the wonderful, the way that we take care of everything here, which is a huge part of these folks that are promoting hikes and stuff, is just that we are aware of the assets we have and how we protect them. And again, the Seattle Met Portland Monthly, I started a contract with them in March, which was a major contract for them, but we were able to span it over all the events through the summer, which traditionally we don't promote so much because we don't need heads and beds, but the events themselves really benefited a lot from like full page ads and stories. And they did an article about Oyster Fest, which was very, very popular, that also became an evergreen article on both Seattle Met and Portland. And the other really wonderful thing about it is it increases our credibility, because then we have Seattle Met writing stories about how wonderful our shellfish are, and those articles that are more organic are, a lot better than just spending lots of money on ads. And as far as the media goes, we produce 5 or 6 really very popular publications that are handed out all year round, and we, like I said, we continually reprint them so that we can get them as updated as possible. As far as the internet, we have Explore Hood Canal, which is an incredibly successful website, and it ranks really, really well. But we also have a lot of niche markets, which are really good ways to bring people into Explore Hood Canal so that they can find out more about our lodging. And one of these is the Waterfall Trail, which is just a really, it's one of those things that's like traveling with your dogs. People love chasing waterfalls. So it's kind of nice that We have our own website for that. We have a lot of people coming in through that. Obviously, Oysterfest, I created their website, and we have a lot of people that are then fed into Explore Hood Canal. The Olympic Bird Trail, unfortunately, is not as popular as I would like, but it does have its own little niche market that comes in, which is important. The Christmastown one, it really experiences a lot of visiting starting about right now, all the way through January. And then the Shellfish Trail. And so altogether, we have, even though we only have 150,000 people coming to Explore Hood Canal, like year to date, so that's until now, and that's this year's numbers, everything has increased over the years. And altogether, we're able to take that from 150,000 to 300,000 because of these websites that the Mason County Explore Hood Canal supports. And we're able to, just really drill down on subjects like for shellfish, we can talk about shellfish really fully. Whereas if we did that on Explore Hood Canal, you would get incredibly lost in it. And so amongst all that, all those different media things come with their own social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and we're able to be kind of forefront in all of that because we got a lot of really fun things going on, a lot of fun things happening. For example, with Fjord Crossing, I work with Hardware Distillery and I manage their Facebook page. I work with Hama Hama, I work with Hoodstock, Forest Festival. I also am a manager on theirs. The folks in Allen that run the Allen Days and all the events there, I am one of their administrators on their Facebook page. So it's really exciting to be able to cross-pollinate all these social media channels and be able to get the information out as accurately as possible and to try give everybody the benefit of the 43,000 people that are following Explore Hood Canal or the 300,000 that are following Scenic Washington. So that's kind of overview of what we're trying to do as our marketing scheme. We're trying to do the events. We're trying to combine the digital, the print, and video, and everything is important. Not one thing happens by itself. Our target area for the tourism is first off just trying to get folks that are coming from our urban areas because those are obviously the easiest ones to get. They want to get out of the city. They come here, it takes them 2 hours. And sometimes it's just a day trip, but if we can encourage them and give them inspiration to spend more than 2 days or more than a day, then we can get them staying out there. And they're the ones that will come off season. They're the ones that are there right now this weekend. We were interacting with people from Albuquerque, New York, I mean, all over the place, but majority of them were from the Seattle, Tacoma, Portland area. The other folks that we try to target through trade shows and through direct, advertising through periodicals and trying to send out inspirational articles to different periodicals, because I find that if I can send them a story, it's so much easier for them to just print it and fill space. And then we get a lot more coverage with it rather than a sponsored piece of material for the magazines and whatever else we're putting in them. And so I call them my road trip warriors, those people that, I've always wanted to go to Olympic National Park. I've heard about it. I want to do it. And my job is to try give them my itinerary that drags them into Mason County. Generally, the itinerary is the loop around the Olympic Peninsula. But if I can show our assets and say, oh my gosh, you are a fool to miss this, then we can try to target them here. And then the other group that I really focus on is those, and we can see this because of the demographics coming into our website, because it'll tell us their IPs and where they're coming from, is the niche markets that really kind of tie in directly with the direct flights that go to SeaTac, which is kind of interesting. And it also makes it a whole lot easier to design itineraries for them because it's a one flight. A lot of it's through Alaska, and Alaska has a really good, their riders, their folks that are into them really appreciate what the Northwest is about, and they really appreciate the Seattle area. And when you're in Seattle and you look over at those mountains on the Olympic Peninsula, those are our mountains. And it's kind of cool to be able to, people understand that. They know the Space Needle and they know the Olympics. And so we can drag them over for that reason and just make sure we show how easy it is to get here. So what is my role? I'm a DMO, which took me a long time to figure out what that actually meant, but that's the Destination Marketing Officer, which is kind of a funny thing. And there's a lot of people out there targeting me as, trying to get me to spend their money on, spend your money for them on their different things. But basically what we are is what my job is to make sure that Mason County's brand is authentic and it's consistent, and that when something happens and people want to know, especially during COVID, what's going on in Mason County, we are the credible people that they can go to. Our website has tons of content. It's update. It's if there's something that happens on 101 or in the Olympics or something, sometimes they're positive, sometimes they're negative. We are the place that people will go to find. And our website is accurate. It is up to date. And we have a lot of people that are constantly telling us if it isn't. So we're able to keep that updated. We're also storytellers. We're telling the stories of, Jeff did a beautiful story yesterday that he published about the hook and fork. And it was kind of neat. It was like, things that I didn't even know, because he went down and dove deep and learned about what their vision was, what they wanted to do for that place there. Even though it's owned by Alderbrook, it has a totally different vibe than Alderbrook does. And it was kind of cool. It gave that Northwest identity, which is what Mason County is. And the important part is to realize that we are not your run-of-the-mill tourism place with big hotels, and we don't have any hotels actually. And we don't have, lots of fancy restaurants. People have to design their own adventure, and we have to be there to help them so that we make it exactly how they envision their time in the wilderness is, whether they have dogs, children, whether they're just a couple that want to relax. And so we have all that here. It's just really important as our job to tell that story so that they can go have that story, because people like to be told what to do and then figure it out for themselves after. The other thing that's really important, obviously, for my job is we are an economic driver for Mason County, and tourism is basically one of the most, it is an amazing resource, because it doesn't just help bring income in with heads and beds, but it also helps our stores, our restaurants, our gas stations, our families have other things to do. If there wasn't tourism, we wouldn't be doing Christmas Town. If we didn't have Christmas Town, families in Shelton wouldn't have something to do and go, being a part of all these things too. And that's kind of what brings the community together. And when the community is happy and there's confidence and there's growth, then you have a much healthier tourism industry as well. So they all work together. They all are incredibly important. And I can't say how many times we use the maze as kind of a gathering spot, and we're really going to work on that, which I'll talk about in a couple minutes. But what I find is, like, the schools tell me, the folks that are doing the nonprofits there, they're like, I can't believe how many people love our county. This is so wonderful. And it also helps them understand how beautiful their county is and what their assets are, because we'll be spending all day down at the Shelton Expo, and we're handing out brochures about hikes to people who live here that have never actually been there. They go to Olympia to recreate, and it's like, guys, look at what you have here. And it's a little bit of a shock for some people. They just move here because of a job, but they don't realize what we actually have. And that is really part of my job as well. My values are probably a little different than others. I want to impress you. I do want to impress you. Obviously I do, because if you're not impressed, then it's no fun at all. But I want to feel good about what I'm doing. And one of the things I really feel is important for my company's values is that everything has to be accurate and authentic. And that when we're networking and we're creating relationships with either the businesses that are local, like Glen Eyre or Alderbrook, it's an authentic, we're helping them to do better at what they do. And if they do better, then obviously our tourism incomes will increase. And if we can provide them with all the things that they need and help them to have, the story told, so that when someone shows up, they're not disappointed because they knew exactly what to expect, that I'm doing my job right. And so I hope that, I know that we have, we have created a really good lead generation. Just even with our Facebook, we have followers on Facebook. We have people that are, interacting daily with our Facebook, and they're not people that just went on because I hosted a sweepstake or something so that I could increase my numbers to impress you. Sometimes the numbers go down, sometimes the numbers go up. Mostly they go up, honestly. But what's really important to me is that it is an authentic experience for the folks that come to our county. And that is something that you can grow with. And even on a lean year, if our revenues do go down, we will still continue to grow like we did through COVID. We work closely with all the event operators. Forest Festival, I'm heavily involved in that. We produce a 48-page magazine. That magazine is printed by 5,000, which is handed out in the community and at visitor informations. But we also had over 20,000 folks go and visit it online and download it. Oyster Fest, which happened in October, we had 30,000 folks download the magazine. And then we additionally assisted Oyster Fest with a full-page article in their Best Escapes in the Portland Monthly, as well as the Seattle magazine. So it had a lot of coverage in that way that kind of not just built credibility for Oyster Fest, but obviously built credibility for Mason County, because we host these very professional, very wonderful events that are suitable for families, for couples to come out here and enjoy. And even if they come in Oyster Fest and only stay in their trailer, they are getting inspiration to come back to see the rest of the county, because they were much too busy eating oysters and drinking and partying, and now they got to come back and enjoy the area. And again, that one media, and if anybody actually wanted to see the numbers, I will make them bigger for you and send you all the reports, but they give me full reports on how well each of their rich media, which means they were on the web, they were in the print, and they were also digital, like little ads that would show up in other articles and stuff where people clicked in and off. We also did a billboard down there for Oyster Fest that was quite successful. A lot of people saw it, which was kind of neat. Worked with Allendale's and Hoodstock, and these are the ads that would show up on the top of articles throughout their websites, which again gives you that, not just a print piece, not just a brochure, but also the digital, which appears everywhere. We also attend travel and trade shows and as many events as we can locally to support them. The picture on the bottom is Jeff up at the Ridge during their Moto America, which was a really good event to chat with people about what Mason County has to offer. We did a lot of prize giveaways and stuff. People love getting free stuff. They had a large concert. We helped a lot to promote that with the country, different country channels that we could find. And then, as you know, there's lots of events, little events, just even the car shows and stuff. They're good to be there to have a presence and chat with people about. I went to the Travel and Adventure Show down in California, which is part of our kind of target demographic. And then last month, I was down at the state of Washington for their tourism summit. And then I went to the Portland Travel Con, which I would not recommend to anybody, but they actually gave me a free admission so that I could go check it out and give a critique on their event. And I haven't responded yet, obviously. But anyway, we're at all the events and we try to give as much support as we can if they want the support. If they don't want the support, we of course just offer what we can as far as marketing. And the two big brochures that we have that are super popular, again, the hikes map, which we have, it's a 80-page document and it is very easy to understand. It talks about all the different passes you need, which ones you can do with dogs, how long the hikes are. I drew maps for every single one of the hikes, which is really helpful because you can't find them anywhere else. And when you're offline, you are kind of buggered because there is no map out there and you just are wandering in the woods. And so, and again, I worked with Craig and he hand drew them and then I did them in Illustrator. So it looks really nice. And we do runs of 5,000. We probably do 3 or 4 of those a year, depending on how busy it is. Our social interaction, again, is we use a lot of video stuff now that I have Jeff Slakey working with me. He is very, very good at engaging people and getting them to talk about what they do. So we have some great videos out there. And they have great traction. For example, Alan Days, we did one on the Salmon Bake and the Gooey Duck Festival. He worked closely with the organizers to get them involved in it. And then we also ran a ton of ads on KMES and used their voices and got them involved in creating their own ads. But just that one little video had 20,000 views. The Great View Art Festival was really happy with their 20,000 views. And most folks wrote to us after and said, thank you so much. We really showed a lot of increased attention even before, after, and during the event. Another thing I do, which I have do on my own, but obviously it's a really good way for me to get on top of all the tourism things because it kind of makes me on task to create, to really push people. And after 7 years, I've been able to really get people to let me know about their events early so that I can get them in to explore Hood Canal. But we have been producing the Tracing the Fjord since 2017. This is completely advertising based. The county does buy advertising in it at a discounted rate. And then we do provide a ton of space to different events and stuff, but we do not charge the county for that space, nor do we charge the events for that space. The only ones I do charge for space are folks that are from outside of county. And I just write lots of articles because it obviously gives me content, but it also helps them a lot to get organized early and also get those, you know, if it's a musical event, we get all the bios, we get to do a really good write-up, and then we have a good article that we can share everywhere because it's been well researched and tested on people before it actually gets out digitally as well. We have written 38 quarterly issues over the 7 years. So that's 38 magazines times 80 pages, which is a lot of writing. And I found that I have a lot of people that follow me, so I can't even reuse stuff very much. So it's kind of a challenge, but it's, for some reason, people are sending me articles and there's still tons of information out there. We do 10,000 print issues. 3,500 of them are handed out on the ferries. And within that, Mason County has bought a section that is the center section that we keep pretty consistent, except we routinely change it up for dates and for, you know, just seasonally, I'll put Christmas pictures in for Shelton instead of, you know, pictures of Paul Bunyan or something. And so we have 3,500 that are handed out on the Washington State ferries. And then the other 7,500 are handed out to VICs throughout the Olympic Peninsula at events, as well as locally at just places where people can pick them up. And over this year, we've had 155,000 impressions of the magazine, which include downloads and people just flicking through it. But the average time people spend on it is about 3 minutes, which I think is pretty fantastic. I'm very, very proud of that. And so when I put a magazine out, it may no longer be on the shelf or we may have run out of them, but people keep reading them all year long and they are very searchable. And I pay a lot of money so that which county doesn't pay either, by the way, but we pay money to make sure that we are on a system that ranks really well. So if someone is looking up Allen Days or something, our stories will come up and we'll be able to give that the credibility that that event needs throughout the year. Because I have your ear, I wanted to bring up one thing that I feel very strongly about. And some of you may or may not know that we have a restaurant out in Hoodsport. When we started that facility, it was right after I did the contract with the county to do a feasibility study about bringing a welcome center to Mason County. And in doing so, I did tons of research and came up with the thought that one of the things that may have been difficult for the county to make a decision on was the fact that we didn't have enough real numbers, and real numbers are super important to people. And our numbers for our own visitor information sometimes maybe are a little bit skewed and not as accurate, or and is not numbers that you want to take to the bank. So we created with our own personal resources what we wanted to do was an oyster bar, because I was shaping it after what Wenatchee does with their visitor information, where they have a wine bar and different wineries are featured. So since I have a really good connection with all the different oyster bars, we decided to show the different Marriers in an oyster bar and then open that to the public and invite people in for a reason to come in and then share the story of Mason County. So when we created this facility in Hoodsport, it was to work with the local VICs and local people to try almost like I think I called it a pilot project is what I called it, which is funny because John's a pilot. But anyway, the idea was to just showcase what Mason County has. And in my case, I was really familiar with oysters, and we had the support of all the other oyster farms to do this. It obviously has morphed into a restaurant because of our strong connection with Zindwali, and we were blessed to have her work with us for a year. And throughout that year, we saw so many people, and it became a very, very successful restaurant that was featured on Evening Magazine, obviously all due to Zen. But even just after reopening for the last month, what I've realized even more is how important it is that we revisit the idea of the Welcome Center and understand that when people come into a facility, they're looking for the answers to questions, but they sometimes don't know what their questions are. And if you can engage them with a glass of wine or an oyster or something else they're coming in for, and we can empower those advocates that are running the businesses like the Stottle Winery, like Hama Hama, like the Fjord Oyster Bank, or any of these other ones, then that is how we can really give that authentic and knowledgeable picture of Mason County. So just to give you an idea of this pilot project we did, when we ran the event center kind of thing, this just running it as a restaurant, we had over 16,000 visitors over the 6 months that we were running it. And it was interesting to see that they were coming from all over, and we had QR codes in the restaurant so that we could track them. And it was really interesting. Like even this weekend, I was telling Diane, we had people from Albuquerque, we had people from New York, and the folks that I was talking to last night were from Portland. There are people coming all year round. And if we can engage these people with providing the necessary tools to our advocates, then we will have lifelong visitors to Mason County that will bring their money here and come back year after year. So obviously, I just want to throw this out there again, the Welcome Center idea. It is online still, the feasibility study. I really encourage you guys to revisit that as you're thinking about what to do with tourism in the coming years, because all our contracts are up, and understand that it is very relevant still. And we can showcase our culture, our timber, our aquaculture. There were so many amazing things. And because we are on the hub of the Olympic Peninsula, I believe that we can get coordination from the other counties around, because it would be incredibly valuable to them as well.
Rachel, we need to go ahead and wrap this up.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
Okay. Yeah, Jeff had some stuff on the app as well. Did you want to cover that, or is that?
I can record something and send it to everybody so they can see a little bit more about how they can use the app that we've been looking at and get that out there.
I would appreciate that, because we have to get to the rest of them. But if you have something you still need to cover right now for a close, please do.
No, that's fine. I'm good. Yep, okay. Christmas is coming. I hope you guys are there.
I do want to say what you've done with Christmastown is just amazing. And I want to also throw out one other thing. As somebody's been here for a long time, we hired somebody many years ago, professionally, did a bunch of stuff. There's not even a comparison, not even the same animal at all from what we get provided now in comparison to that. I'm not even sure what we even did then, because there sure wasn't a lot that came back through. So I want to give you a pat on the back and say thank you for that. Commissioner Trask, do you have something you would like to add?
No, I just want to say that Rachel and everyone's doing a great job. We have an amazing board. They participate, and we're lucky to have them. Really do, when Jeff sends that video, check it out, because it's pretty darn cool.
Great. Commissioner Schutte.
No, great stuff. I excited to keep growing our tourism industry in Mason County. That's exciting.
Yeah, you were here back when we had that other group, weren't you?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, interesting, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Rachel, we thank you very, very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry I chabbled on so much.
That's okay, you did good. Commissioner Trask, is there anything else you want to cover, or Diane, on this issue?
I don't think so. I would say I would recommend, take a look at the scope of works that is included in your packet, because that'll tell you what each entity is to do with the money. So just take a look at that.
Okay. Commissioner Schutte, anything? I'll throw in one thing. I have a gentleman in the middle of my screen here. I'll go eat some pizza. It's awesome. Absolutely awesome. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and go on back then to Jennifer. There you
Okay,
are.
thank you. I'll share my screen again. And we'll go through this really quick. Okay, so the revenue for current expense through October of 2024, we've received $41,284,352. We're at 92% of our budgeted revenue. For the general fund, compared to last year, we received $39,996,880. The treasurer's revenue detail. So we have received in the treasurer's office this year, $28,169,713. We're at 96% of our budgeted revenue in the treasurer's office compared to last year, $27,433,058. And we were at 97% of our budget last year. Current expense expenditures. This year, we have expended $40,533,979. We're at 77% of our budgeted expenditures, and we were also at 77% last year. And there's our expenditures just above 37 million. The special fund 6-year recap. So we have received in community development revenues were up. Property taxes were up over last year. Most everything is up over last year, including REIT. And stop me if there's any questions along the way. The county sales tax we've received through October, $8,165,000, and we received in October 892,000. We're projected to receive over 9.8 million, and we budgeted 9.2. So that's looking very good. The special fund, I'm sorry, not the special fund, the current expense cash at the end of October was $28,276,443. Compared to last year, it was $29,530,593, and I believe our estimate of 26.5 million for end of the year or beginning of January is a pretty good estimate still. We're at 92% of our budget again for revenues and 77% of our expenditures. And that looks pretty in line with the previous 5 years on both of those. For the special fund cash balances, we have at the end of October, $66,420,000, and that is up over the previous 5 years. For motor pool, we have expended $1,214,461 at the end of October. We're at 62.74% of our budget, and we are starting to get a few newer vehicles in. For the special fund revenue, we have received through the end of October, $52,638,785. We're at 84% of our budgeted revenue this year in our special funds compared to last year, $51,370,175. We were at 85% of our budget last year. For revenues, for expenditures in special funds, we have expended $44,166,438 this year compared to $42,697,560 last year, and we're at 59% of our budget this year compared to 56% last year. County debt, we have a total at the end of October of $15,712,214. Any questions on this presentation?
Commissioners, any questions?
None for me.
None for me.
Same here.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mark?
Yeah, so got some materials in there for you guys. We went out and did a request for qualifications with help to look at Mason Lake Campground and help us determine what that value would be. So we've gotten 2 responses, as you can see from the materials included in your packet. It's going to range anywhere from $100,000 to $132,000 for this work. And I wanted to come back to the commission because I know that this is higher than what we were kind of looking at or assuming it might be. And I wanted to get your approval to move forward doing some interviews of both of these companies and then come back with a recommendation for how we should move forward.
I got a couple of questions, Mark. First, which fund would this come out of?
So we actually looked into this because we were originally thinking that we could use REIT 2 associated with parks, but I do not believe that this would be an allowable expense out of that. So I think
what about one for planning? I know we're thinking parks, you know, but there's planning dollars, isn't it, in one?
You know, I can look further into it. Jen and I talked about this last week, and Jen, if you're still on, you could jump on here. But I believe that it was actually the purchase of land is what was not allowable with the REIT. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. That's what I read. I'll go back and clarify that. I'll verify with Tim Whitehead.
But there was dollars that are available through REIT for planning. And I would think this would be planning. We're not using this money to purchase the land.
So potentially doing the study and the appraisal and kind of the evaluation of the facility to give us a better idea of what its value would be. Definitely would be a planning activity.
And whether or not we even want to take it on because it's planning.
So, and I could bring that back if you want us to, if you're still interested in this, knowing the new price and you want me to move forward, we could actually interview those companies and then come back to you with a recommendation for here's where we would pay it out of, and here's what the final cost is going to be, if that would make it easier.
I like that, but I'd also like to see if maybe we reach out and have that one be one of the requests for our legislators also, because they may be fully vested in wanting to do something here. Commissioner Schutte, where are you at on this?
I am definitely good moving forward with interviews.
What about the asking our legislators? We only have so much political capital.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm there, to be honest with you on that.
That's all right. Commissioner Trask.
Yeah, I definitely want to move ahead with the interviews. But I'd kind of like to see what we get back from them before we approach our legislators.
So right now you're for interviews, but not expending the money to hire. Is that what I understood?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Schutte? Or you have the same mindset?
I would interview and then select a consultant.
And I'm at the point where I'd like to interview and find out and then come back and decide what we're going to do when we look at how much money and where it would come from. So it sounds like right now interviews are definitely still on the table. If you don't mind, then come back to it. We'll let you know.
Absolutely. I want to make sure that I don't want to waste these individuals' time. And so definitely, if I'm feeling like there is some comfort level in the fact that with this new estimate of what it would cost, we would potentially be very highly likely we'd be moving forward with the evaluation process.
I agree with that, but waiting to hear what we hear. Okay. I already heard that from Commissioner Schutte. Would you agree with that assessment, Commissioner Trask?
Yeah, I definitely want to move forward with this because I'd hate to lose such a asset to the county.
All righty. So we will move forward with some interviews and come back with some additional recommendations of where to pay it for and whether or not we would actually go to our legislators and ask. Okay. So thank you for that. The next item I had on there is just a proclamation that I'd like to read at tomorrow's regular meeting regarding the supporting Operation Greenlight for veterans, if you guys are okay with that.
Yes, except for I would ask if you don't mind, it was Commissioner Trask that was and I think it would be appropriate if we allowed her that honor.
The only issue would be is I will be at the meeting. Well, I'll be attending the meeting, but I'll be located in Vancouver, so.
Oh, so you'll be in Zoom. Okay, no, I'd rather have a live person, if you don't
Yeah.
mind.
If one of the other commissioners would like to read it, I have no ownership associated with it. I do want to recognize Kell and his team
Yep.
because I think it gets better and better every year. And
I'm comfortable with you doing it if Commissioner Schutte is as well.
Sure.
Okay,
All right.
because if you really want to do it, I just wanted Sharon because she's the one that was bringing it forward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and just look at what Kelly has done. You'll see green lights in every windows. You'll see that the courthouse is lit up. Our building is lit up. And so it's just neat to see the support that we have for our veterans in this community.
So we're gonna move forward, Mark, with you doing the presentation.
All righty. That's all I have for you.
Okay, commissioners, do you have anything for Mark?
Not for me.
Mr. Trask, anything?
Nope, not for me. Just a reminder that we're gonna be, or that I will be in Vancouver tomorrow, but I'll be logging in from Vancouver.
Cool. We got you. All right, commissioner discussions. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, move we adjourn.
I'll second.
Hearing no objection, we are adjourned. See you tomorrow.